Hey everyone, it's Allie, and today I want to talk about some updates for the pre-Hand of Wisdom in Action Stat Stacking Gemling Legionnaire. It's going to be a short update, but it's going to be a pretty impactful one, focusing on trying to make your defenses feel a little bit better before you swap over to PoE. Now, this is most likely going to be the final update to the pre-PoE setup, as a lot of community members are starting to be able to make enough money to farm their PoEs with what is already there, meaning that the build as a whole feels pretty comfy and people are having a successful time with it, and there realistically isn't many other upgrades we can get for the build that don't interfere with you saving up for PoE, which is substantially more important than anything else. I do also want to mention the mobile X links will be updated with all this as well. So if you want the exact support gems and any other minor changes, they'll all be in there as well. With that said, let's get into it and let's make your build a little bit tankier, which should hopefully make your life a little bit easier. Now, what we're going to be doing here is pretty simple. We're going to be completely dropping Elemental Invocation in favor of just manually casting Eye of Winter. We are running Elemental Invocation as a way to auto-proc a bunch of Eye of Winters onto our Tempest spells for any super tanky rares or for map bosses, but we then realized that that kind of just wastes 60 spirit, and because your Elemental Invocation can store up to 5 Eyes of Winter at once in it, you can kind of just delete your whole mana pool way too quickly with it, making bosses feel a little bit miserable as we don't have any good mana sustain on them. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to just remove Elemental Vacation completely and instead put an Unleash on it, giving us the ability to shoot up to 3 at once. And if we add in an Arcane Tempo, you pretty much don't even notice the cast time of it. It is technically going to be a little bit worse than Elemental Vacation, but that 60 spirit that we're going to get back is going to be crucial. Your ideal linkage on this is going to be Eye, Winter, Chain, and Unleash as your first few supports to get the functionality of it to be what it should be. And then from there, for your fourth socket, you can either add in an Inspiration or an Arcane Tempo, depending on if you really want to reduce the cast speed more, or if you want to lessen the mana problems even more. And then for your fifth link, you're simply going to add in the other one. So if you add an Inspiration first, you'll add an Arcane Tempo. If you add an Arcane Tempo, you'll add an Inspiration. There's no real good sixth link here, and we're most likely just going to use the sixth socket for Thaumaturgical Infusion later down the line. So you don't really have to worry about it for now. Once you do that, you now just have 60 spirit to spend on whatever you want. And this is going to give us our additional bit of defenses that should hopefully make mapping and map bosses feel a little bit easier. What we're going to do is we're going to put in back Wind Dancer. This is something we used for leveling briefly before we got Elemental Vacation, but we're now just going to run it the full time. I would highly recommend for you to quality this as soon as you can, because the quality on it gives an additional stage, meaning you get up to 20% more evasion rating while it's fully stacked. And in terms of links for this, we're simply just going to run a pin, a lockdown, and a wind wave. These don't really do too much, but there really isn't much you can put on Wind Dancer in the first place, but hopefully these might make you feel a little bit safer whenever you get stunned or whenever enemies get near you. This, along with you coming up here and getting yourself enhanced reflexes and all these evasion nodes, should put you at somewhere around 60% evasion rating if you have a Mortar Invictus. This should feel pretty comfy, as prior to this, you were most likely somewhere around maybe 20 to 30% evasion rating. And while this isn't going to necessarily be a silver bullet that fixes everything, it will be another defensive layer that we can stack on top of what we were already doing to make ourselves a little bit tankier. What we could then do with the other little bit of spirit that we have is to then add in a Ghost Dance. This is going to give you Ghost Shrouds, which whenever you get hits, they get consumed to give you energy shield equal to 5% of your evasion rating. This feels really good, especially if you've moved on to more Invictus, as you'll have somewhere around 500 to 600 energy shield or so, giving you a really nice buffer to the majority of damage. Again, this will not fix everything by itself, just like how the evasion won't, but when you stack these two things on top of each other, your build should feel substantially comfier than before. For this, we want to add in a fast forward, because the less effect duration actually makes it so you gain the Ghost Shrouds even faster. And because we have 10 spirit left over, we can then add in a Clarity, which should help with your mana regeneration even more on bossing. There's really not much else we can do on bosses right now, as the pre-HoWA version doesn't really have access to Mana Leech, and there's unfortunately really not much we can do here, but hopefully this Clarity should help you quite a bit. Once you do swap over to HoWA version and you get several hundred int, your mana regen kind of fixes everything for you, but pre-HoWA, there's unfortunately not much we can do, but hopefully this should help a little bit. What you could possibly do instead, if you feel like your mana is fine, and if you have Falcon Dive, is you can instead run a Precision, and that'll give you more attack speed, which should feel really nice. So the choice is up to you on what you exactly want to run. Hopefully all of that should make you feel a little bit tankier. And while a lot of this is specifically based around more Invictus, adding in Wind Dancer is still going to feel really good if you have an armor evasion chestplate, just because, well, you already have a pretty decent amount of evasion, so Wind Dancer is only going to make that evasion better. Finally, what I want to go over here is just a very quick update to our Ascendancy points, as I did realize this is a pretty decent thing to do, and, well, it just makes sense. Our plan is to eventually get to Thaumaturgical Infusion with our second half of Ascendancy points. We're rushing Enhanced Effectiveness with our first 2 labs, and then the plan was to get into Great Efficiency Thaumaturgical Infusion. Well, integrate efficiency just kind of doesn't do anything. So what we can do instead, while we wait for our 4th lab to actually be able to get all the way to Thaumaturgical Infusion, is we just pick up Crystalline Potential for 10% quality. This is pretty nice, as it will make the quality on your Storm Wave go up. This is not a static, you have to hit 20% quality to be able to get an additional meter. So give you another half a meter, making your Storm Waves a little bit thicker. And I'd highly recommend for you to take this over taking Integrate Efficiency for a little bit. The last thing I want to go over in this video is just a quick recap on some other things you could add into your build to make it feel a little bit less clunky, which we discussed in yesterday's video, but I want to put them in here as well in case you missed them. What I'd highly recommend for you to do is to go get yourself 2 specific jewels. First, you're going to want to get yourself a 2% life on kill jewel, which feels really nice for mapping, and honestly, I'm personally interested in maybe getting a second one to get to 4% life on kill. And then second, I'd highly recommend for you to get yourself a 1% mana or 2% mana on kill jewel, as that pretty much, especially when you add in clarity, fixes all of your mana problems, at least while clearing. It's not going to do anything while bossing, but for clearing, you should basically be at full mana the whole time, and it honestly feels really nice. I've been running a 1% mana on kill jewel this whole time, and it's felt great, but if I had a 2%, I can tell you my mana would be super healthy at all times. There'll be a trade link for this in the description below. If you want to go buy yourself some jewels that will have everything related to it, all you have to do is simply just go to the filters and just simply hide the on-kill variant that you're not looking for. Super simple to use, and it should give you some pretty good options. With all that said, that's pretty much all we really have to talk about today. I hope you guys are enjoying the build as much as I am, and I've been having a great time with it. With this, that should pretty much be everything we need to discuss for the pre-HoWA setup. So the next video on this build should be talking about how to actually swap over to Hand of Wisdom in action, how to set that up, and well, how to basically do a stupid amount of damage. If you have any questions on any of this, feel free to leave a comment in the comments below, and I'd be more than happy to help you as soon as I can. I also stream on Twitch every single day, so feel free to come by Twitch and ask me any of your questions there. And with all that said, kitties, I hope you enjoy the rest of the holidays. I hope you have a happy new year, and I'll see you all in the next video.